Hello and welcome to the show. We call this Molotsky on Money. What's the show all about? Well, the clues are in the title. We'll be discussing money, specifically investment strategies, taxes, estate planning, insurance, and many other topics, all of it designed to help you and your family improve your overall financial picture. The Molotsky part of our title comes from our panel. Their name is Molotsky. Each week we'll have Stan Molotsky, president and founder of the SHM Financial Group, as well as Lee Molotsky, vice president of the SHM Financial Group. So we invite you to stay tuned because we have some valuable information on tonight's show that we hope everyone can benefit from. And as we like to say, Stan, it is no exception tonight here on the show. We have a lot of information to talk about with the folks.
We certainly will, and we'll get through as much of it as we possibly can.
That's right. The one thing, we've done a radio show for, it seems like forever, and we enjoy doing it, but we've always talked about inflation. And tonight we're going to focus on inflation and why it's important for you to understand this aspect. Stan, what's the inflation rate today?
Depends on who you believe. If you believe the government statistics, it's they're talking somewhere around the 2.1%. That's the government statistics, based on the cost of living index and the things that they utilize to make up today's cost of living index. The problem with that, if you would go back to the original cost of living index and look at what the true inflation rate is, it figures out to 11.1%.
Now, how does that work out? I mean, they're saying it's 2.1 and you're saying it's 11.1. But where did you come up with? Where did you come up with that?
The government, in their, let's say, their
infinite wisdom,
right, okay. decided to eliminate certain things within the index, things that probably they figured don't count, such as food, oil, the cost of heating and air conditioning your premises.
Energy, basically.
Energy, right. Those things.
So food and energy are not in that, what the government is saying is inflation.
Correct.
They don't count that.
Right. So when they took that out in '83, and if you look at the inflation rate since then, and you go down the list of what the inflation rate was year by year, you'll find that the numbers are somewhere between, less than 1% up to 3%. But everybody knows if you look at what it cost you today in relation to what it cost you last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it is substantially more.
I just looked at my car insurance bill, and from last year to this year, it went up like $600 or $700, which I calculated was like 15%.
Well, that's because you're driving a fancier car than you did before. And, that may have something to do with it.
Well, it's the same car as last year.
Oh, okay. Well, so that's unusual.
The point is, okay, so that's 15% right there.
Sure. Well, go to a restaurant. Right. Any restaurant that you go to, things are much higher than what they have been. Anything.
All right.
Very few things cost less today than what they did years ago.
Why is it, Lee, when we're talking about inflation, what does that have to do with what you do for your clients?
Sure. The concern that we have with our clients and our clients' assets is the fact that over time, inflation will eat into or kind of nibble at the purchasing power of the dollar. So if the dollar is just sitting in the bank earning 0 to half or 1%, after taxes and after inflation, you're getting double whammied. So over time, your money really has to work just as hard as you did to earn it to keep up with inflation and with taxes.
So it's important for both of you when you're sitting with clients, or whoever in your firm is sitting with clients, it's important for them to understand why this is a factor in their overall financial picture.
The key, correct. I mean, the key, the ingredient, the thing that we try to stress constantly, it's not only what that money is earning and the preserving of that money, but you have to protect buying power. I mean, what cost X 5 years ago costs 20% more today using a nominal inflation rate. So as you move forward, if you're planning on an extra $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 from this pile of money, it has to earn that much more just to keep pace with inflation. That's the key for people when they're putting money anywhere, is to preserve the buying power of that money.
And it's interesting, Stan, you lead us right into this particular chart. We're going to show this a couple of times throughout the course of this particular show. And we suggested you get a pen and paper out so you write some of these numbers down so you can understand what you would need. Now let's take a look at, we're calling this the effect of even moderate inflation and increasing longevity. All right, if inflation was 2%, as I read this, Stan, if you have $10,000, does that mean in 5 years you're going to need $11,040 to have the same buying power? Is that what that means?
Exactly. In other words, to do the same things that $10,000 did 5 years ago, if you only assume 2%, you need $11,040 just to be even. Forget about being ahead, just to be even. So when you're looking at, look where your assets have to be deposited, you have to look at not only what they're earning, you don't want to make sure you're going backwards, but you have to earn more just to be even.
We're going to refer to this chart several times throughout the course of the show. If we can put that back up again, I want to show this. The same years, if the inflation was 4%, and as you heard Stan say, it's actually really 11. But for the sake of this discussion, let's say it is 4%. So Stan, that 10,000 in 5 years, you would need 12,167. In other words, that 10, you would have had to made $2,167 to be even.
Correct. I mean, and if you look at it in terms of income, if you said, and forget the 11% for a second, and forget the 2%, and let's say the 3 or 4% number, which is more in tune to what it is for most people. If you turn around and say, okay, I needed $100,000 to live in the style to which my spouse made me accustomed, 10 years ago, you would need today about $150,000 just to be even, to have the same buying power to do the same things you did 10 years ago using that 4% factor.
Which means, Lee, you would have to have your portfolio earning enough to have growth plus to counter inflation.
Absolutely. Unequivocally, yes. So you cannot today, you can sit on cash, you can sit on CDs earning 0.5% or 1% or 1.5%, but you're not keeping up with the buying power.
You're actually getting behind, according to
you
this.
are totally falling behind. So again, you put that chart up there for just a second. If you look at the 4% figure 10 years out, you need about $15,000 in 10 years.
Right.
Even if you use the 2, you need
You
more
still
than
need-
You need
12,000.
12. So
Right.
again, that's an average. So again, we have to assume worst case scenario. We have to assume inflation is at least 4. If it's less, great. If it's more, you're still a little behind. But if you're not including inflation in your factoring as far as your planning is concerned, you're really, really falling behind the 8 ball. Right now, it may not feel as though inflation is a concern because the markets are moving, fortunately, in the right direction. So less and less concern most people have. Our concern is not right now.
Your concern is 5, 10, 15
5,
years
10,
down
15
the road.
years as we do planning for people.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's not just now.
We have more to talk about here on the show tonight on Molotsky on Money. We are discussing protecting yourself against the ravages of inflation. How important is that? Well, it's very important, and we'll show you some more information that you'll find very interesting and valuable here on Molotsky on Money. With Stan and Lee Molotsky, I'm your host, John DeMasi. We are returning with more of the show. Don't go away. Stay with us.
Since 1958, the SHM Financial Group has been providing sound financial insights and strategies for people just like you. Founded by Stan Molotsky, the SHM Financial Group believes in safety, security, and preservation of principal. For more information on how the SHM Financial Group can help you, contact them at 1-800-MONEY-SHM. That's 1-800-666-3974, or visit them at shmfinancial.com. Call us to discuss the reverse mortgage concept. If you should decide to proceed, you're required to go through a 60-minute phone or office interview. We will provide you with a list of HUD counselors you can call who will provide you with the counseling. Call us at 1-855-HUD-REVERSE. That's 1-855-483-7383.
Welcome back to Molotsky on Money with Stan and Lee Molotsky. I'm your host, John DeMasi. As always, we put the number up on the screen where you can contact Stan or Lee Molotsky anytime during the course of the week, or any member of the SHM Financial Group. If you want to call them, you want to email them, you want to go to their website, feel free to contact them any of those ways, and they'll be happy to talk to you. Tonight we are discussing protecting yourself against the ravages of inflation. We showed you earlier in the show a chart which actually gives you the dollar figure you would need in order to keep up with even moderate inflation. And Stan, I guess the question is, we talked about what is and what you need to do, but now let's talk about the how. How do you help clients protect themselves against inflation and also have growth in their portfolio?
Well, today, fortunately, there are a multitude of different programs that are available that allow a client to deposit funds and have like an inflation factor factored into the particular program, where no matter what happens to the particular package of things that they own, they have an increasing inflation value of anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6% that's automatically increasing that particular package from an income point of view anytime they want to turn on that income stream. Now, if their package increases greater than that, fine, then they can take an income from that particular package. But if it doesn't, this rider connected to the program is increasing at that rate, allowing them to take that income out.
All right, Lee, could you explain this in simple layman's terms? All right, you have $100,000, okay, and you put it into this package. Now, what does that do? Does that guarantee you that it will keep pace with inflation? How does that work?
Sure. Let's put the chart back up for a second. So what happens is, if the rider is a 4% rider, 10 years later, your 100 or your 10 is worth $14,800.
That's guaranteed.
That's guaranteed.
Correct?
Your 100 is worth $148,000. So in 10 years, no matter what happens to the markets or interest rates or the package, you know that your 100, from an income standpoint, is worth $148,000. So should you elect 10 years from now, 5 years from now, it's worth a little bit less, but 10 years from now, it's worth $148,000. You know at least at that mark, you can take income based upon $148,000. Your package may be worth a little bit less, may be worth a little bit more, but you know you have a built-in cost of living adjustment as part of the package. And that's really important in order to keep up with inflation.
So Stan, no matter what, in that scenario that Lee just laid out, no matter what, you know that if the rider is 4%, that you're going to at least keep up with that inflation rate of 4%. At the end of 10 years, you're going to be at least even with inflation.
Correct.
Assuming that inflation is only 4%.
Right.
So if inflation is, as you say, 11, let's say 10 for argument's sake, this is helping to offset the inflationary issue, not completely addressing it, but better helping it and addressing part of the issue than not addressing the issue at all.
All right, what about the growth in that particular scenario? Can it get more than 4%, that particular investment? You said worst case scenario it's worth $148,000. Could it be worth more?
From an income standpoint, it's worth $148,000. The actual investment itself can be worth more, can't be worth less than the original deposit of $100.
Okay, so it can never go below that.
That's correct.
But it can be more. Let's say the market goes crazy like it's been doing the last few months. So if the package goes up 10%, then you have more than $148,000, obviously,
Well,
or some percentage thereof. Correct.
Right. In other words, when you look at it on a year-to-year basis, you know what the crediting has been based on the performance of whatever you're suggesting it in turn be allocated to, whether it's the Standard & Poor's Index, the Dow Index, the Russell Index, the European Index, a basket of commodities, whatever you are packaging it with, it could be worth more. Then that becomes your credit at the end of each particular year. And there's a little more complex than what we're talking about. There's a little more, bells and whistles that have to be explained for people to understand what it is before they even think about doing it. It's not for everybody, but it certainly, it is for something that allows to have that built-in inflation rider to protect the buying power going forward.
All right, let me ask either one of you this question. What do you say, and I'm sure clients come into you or potential new clients and say, I like to keep my money safe, it's in a CD in the bank, I know it's guaranteed. And they're getting, 0.1% or something? What do you say to people who do that?
I'd say pull up the chart. So pull up a chart.
Okay, here we go.
Let's look. There's the
Do you
chart.
show them this?
Sure.
Right.
So here's what we're going to show you, Mrs. Smith. Mr. Smith, no offense to the Smiths out there, but your $100,000 sitting in the bank earning 1% for the next 10 years is worth $110,000. If you go to the 4% column, your inflationary factor grows from the 100 needs 148,000. So you have 110, inflation is now 148. So you're $38,000 behind.
You're
Thank you.
behind.
You're behind the eight
You
ball.
actually have less buying power if you keep it in a CD.
Correct. You have the protection of that money, but that money isn't buying the same thing as each year moves forward.
And we didn't say anything about taxes on that.
Forget
We
that.
ain't talking
No,
about taxes.
No,
Right.
right.
So the taxes are involved. So you're even actually less when you factor in taxes.
Especially if you're buying CDs in a non-qualified account. Sure.
On some show in the future, what we'll do is we'll go back to the year 2000 and we'll put down a list of goods and services and we'll show you what they were in 2000 and what they are now, and we'll compare that to the CD rates that you've earned since 2000. We'll compare to make sure that you're keeping up with the buying power. Again, in a number of our seminars that we've had just recently, we show the cost of a stamp. You know, that was many, many years ago when it originated at 4 cents. It's now, I was corrected a couple weeks ago, it's now, I thought it was 45 cents, it's now 46 cents.
46 cents, that's
to mail a
correct.
stamp.
Yes.
So we don't mail too many things. We use email often. But the cost of stamps is gradually going, no big deal, cents, but inflationary, that's a lot.
Well,
It's gone up significantly.
To show you the creativeness of the government, you used to buy stamps with a number on it. It would be
Now you
38,
buy a
40,
lifeless or-
Now you buy an infinity stamp.
Right.
So that's
There's
good.
there's no number.
So you
on
don't
it.
know what you're paying.
You
for
don't-
that.
well-
You're buying the package each time you go in.
How much are those things?
They're the same. In
They're
other words,
46
same
cents,
what
but
the current
that's
rate.
it.
Right.
So I'm not a junk food eater, but every once in a while I'll nibble on a little package of potato chips. I don't know if it's me or not. Maybe I misread it, but I swear I saw 99 cents for a little bag of chips about 6 months ago. Last week I went in $1.30.
And the package probably got smaller.
Well,
I'll
that's-
assume for
yeah,
argument's
yeah,
sake that
yeah.
the package is the same size.
But the package does get smaller,
30,
and the price goes up.
That's 30%.
You know, most of our audience, and especially the three of us, we go to a lot of sporting events.
Yes.
And when you go to you go to a Phillies game or an Eagles game or Sixer game, when you go to the concession stand, it's like taking out a loan. I mean, it's unbelievable the cost of that particular kind of stuff that you do.
We were at a baseball game. I have to share this story with everybody. We go to a baseball game, and Lee and I walk up to the concession stand, and we get, I think it was 2 pretzels and 2 sodas, and I think it was like $37. And Lee said, imagine what a family of 4 has to go through. That's just an example. I mean, you have to save up for several months.
Well, sure.
But it's not just that. It's everywhere.
Well, you've had season tickets for the 76ers for many, many years.
And
I
the
think you were
Phillies.
one of the original ticket holders. I remember having a ticket stub from the original 1976ers back in the, whenever they started. It was $7.50 for the ticket.
Oh yeah, right.
And I
now
think
what
that
is
was a playoff ticket.
Now what is it? It's $100 and some
It's
dollars?
$100 and
I don't even want to say what I
Okay,
pay
never
for my
mind.
season ticket, but it's over that. It's over that. I mean, it's just.
As we go down memory lane here on Molotsky on Money, we are discussing on the program protecting yourself against the ravages of inflation. We tried to give you some examples, some real life stories, but we have more to talk about here on the show. We are coming back with Stan and Lee Molotsky. I'm your host, John DeMasi. More of Molotsky on Money, protecting yourself against the ravages of inflation. We'll do that right after these words. Stay with us.
Do you know what your risk tolerance is when it comes to your investments? Do you know exactly what you have in your portfolio? The SHM Financial Group have developed a very important program called a financial stress test. It's simple, quick, and can help you in your future financial plans. Contact the SHM Financial Group to schedule it. Offices in Collingswood, Voorhees, and Lakehurst, New Jersey. Call 1-800-MONEY-SHM. That's 1-800-666-3974. Call us to discuss the reverse mortgage concept. If you should decide to proceed, you're required to go through a 60-minute phone or office interview. We will provide you with a list of HUD counselors you can call who will provide you with the counseling. Call us at 1-855-HUD-REVERSE. That's 1-855-483-7383.
Welcome back to Molotsky on Money with Stan and Lee Molotsky. I'm your host, John DeMasi. As always, we invite you to contact Stan or Lee or any member of the SHM Financial Group during the week via telephone, via the website, or you can email them if you have a question or a thought about anything pertaining to your overall financial situation. And we certainly invite you to tell everyone about our show. We are here every week at this time. Tonight we are discussing protecting yourself against the ravages of inflation, and we're going to cite some more examples here, but we thought we would go to, right now, we thought we would get to some of the questions because we do have a couple of questions, and these have come to us from a variety of sources, whether it's a seminar or a radio show or just people emailing questions. And this is Bernie from Elkins Park, PA. Bernie says, we're about to start taking our IRA distributions. My wife and I both turned 70 and a half in January. I'm reviewing our portfolio, and it appears that we're getting about 3% on our investments. Is that enough for us to live on, or should we be looking at alternatives? Stan?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, it is enough, depending on what their lifestyle is, but based on what the cost of living is and the direction it will probably go, no, that probably will not be enough.
3% is not enough.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so the next question, let's get to his question was, okay, it's not enough. Should we be looking at alternatives? Lee, what are alternatives?
There's dozens of alternatives. Again, it's all based upon one of our other shows we have a red ball, green ball discussion. So I don't know Bernie's risk tolerance, but I'll presume for 1 second he's a safe guy. There are many, many safe alternatives that will get you potentially a lot more than 3% without the risk factor involved.
Is that one of those things that you were talking about earlier, where there's a guarantee of a certain percentage that they would be getting?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Most people that we deal with don't. I think I've been in practice 30 some odd years. Dad's been.
He's a little older than you, is what you're saying.
Long story short, most people don't lump sum their IRA. They don't take a lump sum. They take an income stream. They even take an income stream from their Roth IRA, which is a tax-free income stream. So, yes, there are many ways to create an income stream, many times tax-free in nature, and you get paid to wait a little bit more than 3% until you're ready to take the income.
Obviously, I don't know whether these people are clients or not, but obviously they should be talking to you about something. I would assume you'd want to react now, correct? To if you're getting 3%, you want to get more than that. So talk about it now.
Again, it comes back to, like Lee said, your risk tolerance, red ball, green ball. How much risk do you want to take in relation to what your assets are? I mean, that's part of an analysis that we do all the time for everybody. So maybe their risk tolerance is such that 3% might be ideal in today's environment. So.
Okay, we have another question here, and let's see who this is from. This is Sylvia in Margate, New Jersey. She says, one of my friends in my complex has a grandson who says he could invest my money for me and get me about a 10% return. Some of my other friends have invested with him, but I'm not sure. It sounds too good to be true. I've seen your program and I like what you have to say. Should I consider investing with this person?
The person meaning the grandson?
Yes. With the 10% return, which again, I'm not the financial advisor here. I'm merely the host of the show. But I got a little uneasy feeling with this question.
Here's a simple rule of thumb, which we shouldn't ever use. But the rule of thumb is, from a safe money standpoint, look at what you can earn on a 30-year guaranteed government bond. Today, you can earn 3 to 3.5%.
Correct.
Okay. So in order to earn 10, that's at least 3 times the amount of risk in order to get 10%. You have to ask yourself, how much comfort do I have in this individual, your grandson, with a piece of your money?
Friend's grandson.
The friend's grandson.
Friend's grandson,
right.
Okay.
It's not her grandson, it's the friend.
If what your friend's grandson says is true, let's assume for 1 second it is, maybe you take a very, very, very small portion and let him try and earn the 10% on it. But there's no guarantees that you will get the 10%, nor there's no guarantee that you will get a return of your money. So the 10% is a return on your money. The return of the money is a return of the money.
Stan, would you, if she asked you, should I do it, and she's asking us, should she consider this?
Well,
how would you answer that?
You can't answer it without knowing the specific things that he's talking about, putting the money into, and then how liquid that is, and what, who owns it. I mean, there's a whole multitude of different things that have
You
to
really
go
have to
into
do a risk analysis of that particular investment advisor, so to speak,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and make sure he has a little track record and lift up the hood and see what he's doing.
And where is that money actually going? What is it
and
going
which
into?
she doesn't answer any of that.
Right.
And it's one of those things, and we've talked about this all the time on our other shows, that when people say, I got this thing that could get you, that's usually a time to question.
Well, you want to know what it is. You want to dig a little bit more. Like Lee keeps saying, you want to open up the hood and see what's underneath the hood. You want to see what's inside before you actually take that step.
And I think the reason we put this up there was because we're talking about getting more than inflation, and with inflation being 4% or whatever it is, this person's talking about 10, so we kind of use that to talk about this particular point, but there's other issues with this particular question.
Sure. I mean, and there are, stock-related things that people can purchase that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange that yield anywhere from 7 to 8 to 9%. But they're risk, they're mortgage-related things. They're things that have high risk connected to them, but they are generating, that kind of income.
So what's the answer, Lee? To kind of sum up what we talked about here on the show, we're talking about inflation, we're talking about keeping up with inflation, and of course having some growth. So you have to do better than inflation. What's the bottom line here? What should people be looking at?
Sharpen your pencil, do some homework, lift up the hood, sit down with some folks who have some background and knowledge in the industry, revisit your portfolio, and make sure that the assets that you have over the last 10 to 12 years have kept up with inflation. If they haven't, time to revisit, see what you're doing differently, see what alternatives are out there. Maybe you have kept up with the inflation over the last 10 years, 12 years.
And maybe you have, and maybe you haven't gotten as much growth as you can. So another reason to maybe discuss doing something different, Stan?
Absolutely. I mean, and like you have to know who you're dealing with. You have to know how long they've been around, and you also have to know how they get compensated to do what they, do. And you have to know what your specific goals and objectives and risk tolerance actually is before you decide to do anything.
It's a little severe, but think of this as brain surgery. Get a second surgical opinion before you go in for the surgery. So you maybe have been with an advisor for 10 or 12 or 15 years. Give us a chance, we'll sit down with you, see what it is that you have, give you a little analysis, and go from there. I mean, the least you could do is spend some time and uncover and get some opinions as to what you're doing.
With any surgery, you're going to get another opinion.
You should.
So in this case, your financial portfolio is just as important, because obviously that's how you're going to live for the rest of your life.
Maybe not as important as brain surgery, but we think it's important. It's
Well,
part of your
you need
financial
it to live.
future. Yes, yes.
You have
Certainly.
to know whoever you're dealing with, who do they represent, and what can they offer. I mean, our entity, and we keep stressing this, we don't have a product line. We're an independent entity working with the client, for the client, finding the best thing for the client. There are firms that are out there that are excellent firms, but when you go to those firms, you can only deal with what they offer.
And with that, we're going to put the wraps on another edition of Molotsky on Money. As always, we thank you for watching. And if you'd like to get in touch with Stan or Lee Molotsky or any member of their team, feel free to call them, email them, or, of course, go on their website. For Stan and Lee Molotsky, I'm your host, John DeMasi. Always a pleasure. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a great week. We'll talk to you next time. Molotsky on Money, right here. Take care.
Throughout our working years, we accumulate as many retirement nest eggs as possible. The problem is, not much attention is given to the color of the eggs. Do you know how much of your assets should be allocated to each color? At our firm, we have a system that helps you allocate your retirement nest eggs correctly. We have a simple way for you to group your retirement assets into red, yellow, and green money. Give us a call today and we will help you sort and label your retirement nest eggs, giving you a clear picture of the color of your retirement.
Call us to discuss the reverse mortgage concept. If you should decide to proceed, you're required to go through a 60-minute phone or office interview. We will provide you with a list of HUD counselors you can call who will provide you with the counseling. Call us at 1-855-HUD-REVERSE. That's 1-855-483-7383.